Welcome to Sports Beat KC, the Kansas City Stars sports podcast and YouTube program. We are talking Kansas City Royals today with Royals beat writer Jaylon Thompson. And Jaylon, I guess the first thing I got to ask you is, does champagne sting the eye? I mean, does it? The Royals have experienced a couple of champagne showers here in the last week or so. They are now in the American League Division Series against the New York Yankees. I don't know if you saw this coming as you were covering the team this year, but here we are in early October. The Royals are still playing baseball, and hey, look, it's just got to be fun covering a team that's gotten this far into the playoffs.
Yeah, champagne is the worst for your eyes. I mean, but I'm not going there with goggles. I have to, I'm gonna be strong and take it to the chin. But yeah, these Royals, what can you say about them? No one really gave them a shot. I certainly didn't. I know you probably didn't. No one thought that they were going to win 80 games. Here they are. They win 86. They get to the playoffs, 30-game improvement. They go into Baltimore against a team in the Orioles that have won 90 games or more. And then they just do what they've been doing all year. They pitch, they play sound defense, and they manufacture runs, and that's what they did. What an incredible job by Cole Ragans in Game 1. Seth Lugo followed that up in Game 2 with another masterful performance. And I would be remiss if I didn't say anything about the defense. I mean, the bullpen. And Angel Zerpa, what a job he did in that fifth inning in Game 2. Lucas Ursay closing out both games. Chris Bubich, Sam Wong, John Schreiber, I ain't going on and on. But these Royals, they're for real, and they have a shot for sure.
Yeah, listen, you touched on all the high points for the Royals in their series against the Orioles. We'll go back and get into them in a little bit more detail. Look, the Royals got, as you said, great starting pitching. The Cole Ragans set the tone, right, in Game 1 with that masterful 6 innings and could have gone out for more. He was at 80 pitches, but a little bit of a little physical issue for him. Just what did manager Matt Quattrero say about Cole Ragans after his Game 1 start when he came out with what looked like he had more gas in the tank?
Yeah, he had a left calf cramp, so he was just basically. They took him out as a precaution because, they've been through kind of some cramps before with him, and they know that it can get worse if he kept pushing it. So even Ragans himself said, I would much rather come out now because I want to pitch more and I might have more of the pitch later on. So they're just kind of managing that. And, it actually turned out well because, the Royals bullpen was able to get their feet in the game and hold it right there. So, but he'll be fine. He'll get the hydration. He'll be ready to go for Game 2.
Right. He has been named the starter for Game 2. Manager Q went ahead and named his starters Michael Wacha in Game 1 against the Yankees, Ragans in 2. He hasn't named the Game 3 starter yet. We all assume it's going to be Seth Lugo, but until it comes out of Manager Q's mouth, it's still a TBA. Mm-hmm. So, again, back to the Baltimore series, and this extends to the last, month, maybe month and a half of the regular season. The bullpen has just been on point. It has been, where we thought, and we didn't think it was a weakness of this team for months up through the All-Star break and into the second half of the season. You didn't know who was in that circle of trust for manager, Quattrero. Now it seems like there are a lot of pitchers in that circle of trust. He can roll out of John Schreiber and Sam Long and just about anybody. And I think it has been fortified with the emergence of Chris Bubich and then Daniel Lynch, of course, who didn't pitch in the Baltimore series, but has had a terrific final few weeks of the season. All of a sudden, this bullpen's a strength, isn't it?
Yeah. When you really look at the bullpen and who's down there, it just goes to show you just never know what your role would be in the major leagues. Chris Bubich and Daniel Lynch were starters throughout their entire career. The Royals go out and they get veterans. So they don't just throw out the young starters. They use them in a different way. They repurpose them and they put them in the bullpen, and it's worked. They really settle into those roles. That's not to say they won't be starters again in their career, but the way they've been pitching, they've been key for Matt Quatrero to be able to use those both of them as bridge guys. So if the starter can't make it, then you can use those two to get 2+ innings or whatever you need. Sam Wong has been a revelation. And for every playoff team, there's always someone that's like a non-roster invitee, which is exactly what Sam Wong was this year. He comes in, he earns his spot. I remember watching him in spring training, and he's on the backfields, and there was no one but there. It was just me watching him, and he's just throwing his bullpen and just getting together. Really good. I knew he had some stuff, and now we're seeing it play out in the long term. And what can you say about Angel Zerpa, Lucas Erceg, John Schreiber? Those guys, they really settle into with a framework of what the Royals want to be in the bullpen, and that's just to throw strikes into attack hitters. Last year we were talking about this, and it was they weren't doing that. They even had a slogan called "Rain the Zone." Well, I feel like they're raining the zone pretty well now.
So against Baltimore, 18 innings pitched, 22 strikeouts. This is the pitching staff as a whole. 4 walks, 11 hits, and held Orioles batters to a 167 batting average. That was just amazing. The only run Baltimore got was the Mullins home run in game 2 that tied it up, but they left it right there. The bullpen came in and shut it down after that. Got out of a few jams in the 2 games. Orioles, I know, had the bases loaded at one point in both. I think in both games, Royals worked their way out of those situations. Now, Royals bats, different story, and I'm not sure the production that they had in Baltimore, winning 1-0 and 2-1, which is a continuation of the trend that they've been on for the last couple weeks of the regular season. Not going to get it done against the Yankees, I don't think. I just don't anticipate them winning games 1-0 and 2-1 against the Yanks. So it's not just they're not scoring. They've hit. I believe this is right. Since the Bobby Witt Grand Slam in the loss to the Tigers back in like mid-September, I think the team has hit 3 home runs. They have 11 extra base hits in that time. I think it's a span of 13 games. What has happened to the Royals' power and then the hitting overall? What's going on with these guys?
Well, for a lot of that period, you didn't have Vinny Pasquantino. He was injured. And I think that really took a toll on a lot of guys, especially in the lineup, because he had such a big impact where he was going to bat in between Bobby and Salvador Perez. And he's that protection. He's that glue piece. He's another run producer. So when he's not in there, you have to have guys that are really thrust into roles and maybe they weren't quite ready for. They weren't quite prepared to take on that mantle of just now I got to be the run producer for those two. And opposing pitchers, they also saw that too. It's like, well, at the time, Salvi was struggling as well, and really Bobby was the only one you had to worry about. So why pitch to Bobby when I can just pitch around him and attack everyone else in the lineup and get outs? So I think that kind of played into it. And also fatigue as well. It was a long season. The Royals, they've been playing pretty much playoff games ever since that 20-game stretch against teams that were in first place or, looking to be in contention. That's a long time to just put a lot of energy, effort, and just time into trying to win those games, trying to grind those out. So maybe that did sap a little bit of the power. But I can tell you right now, and as a lot of players put it, they don't really care about how they get it done as long as they get a W at the end of the day. That's what they're looking forward to do. And I think you'll see the offense come around. Garrett Cole's tough, but he's also had 5, 6, 7 days off, however long since the Yankees have played. The Royals are in a rhythm, and as we've talked about with MLB and how this playoff structure is set up, if you can play the wild card round and you get your rhythm and your timing, that gives you an advantage over the divisional team, even though you're on the road, because they haven't played in such a long time. They have to get going again. You're already there. So who knows? The Royals just have to win one game in New York, and then they can try to go home and take it and clinch it from there. So that has to be their mindset and their mentality as they approach these next two games.
I'm absolutely with you on the fact that the Royals have played, and the Yankees haven't. The Yankees haven't played since last Sunday, and so it'll be a full week for them between games. Winning the division, being one of the top two seeds in the American League and the National League is supposed to be an advantage, right? You get to adjust your pitching, you get a little, your arms, your bullpen arms get some rest, but it just hasn't worked out that way in baseball in the previous 2 years that they've had this system. Last year, the World Series was the Texas Rangers over the Arizona Diamondbacks, two teams that came out of the wild card. I would not be surprised if, what are we looking at now? Royals, Tigers in the American League, Padres and Mets in the National League. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave all their opponents, just a really tough division series, and a couple of these emerge out of there into the League Championship Series. I absolutely think you're right about there's something about the rhythm of baseball, playing every day or nearly every day, that you stay in that groove. And if you're a top two seed in these playoffs, even though that's what you fight for, right? That's what you're gunning for. Doesn't always work to the advantage of those teams. So I want to say that, and then also you make a good point about Vinny. Vinny being back, I think, elongates the lineup, right? That puts a good hitter in. It was great to see him get that RBI single in Game 2. That swing he had where he poked the single to right field, and he had he seemed to swing the bat pretty well. I guess we're not going to see him play first base, though. Is that right? Is Yuri Gurriel going to continue to play first in the division series?
Yeah, Vinny's only going to be a designated hitter while he's still recovering from his right thumb injury. Like, he hasn't even put on the glove yet. He's not going to be in the field. JJ Facola say, if in a guesstimation, 2 to 3 more weeks of recovery before he even can be back in the field. So, yeah, He's going to be hitting for right now.
Yeah, well, look, that's a big plus for the Royals. Like I said, I'm with you on that. Having him in the lineup is going to be it could be a difference maker for them in this series. Okay, Royals, Yankees. They played 7 times during the regular season, 4 at Kauffman Stadium, 3 at Yankee Stadium. Interesting series. The Yankees came to Kauffman and just toyed with the Royals for 3 games. It looked like a varsity versus junior varsity. And then in Game 4, I remember it was a Sunday afternoon, Yankees took a 3-2 lead into the 9th inning of that game, looking for a 4-game sweep of the Royals. And again, they had Clay Holmes, their closer, on the hill, and the Royals got 2 runs. I remember Michael Garcia had a big moment in that 9th inning, and the Royals ended up avoiding the sweep with a 4-3 win. In the series that went to New York, and this was just a couple of weeks ago, that was part of the stretch that you mentioned, all those games against first place or playoff teams. Yankees win Game 1. Seth Lugo shuts them down in Game 2. I think pitches the best game against the Yankees of anybody this year. And then the Royals had a chance to win the series and lost the 3rd game. So after the first 3 games of Royals Yankees, these guys have been on pretty even terms. Yes, the Yankees had the better record. They won the division. They won 94 games this year. I don't get a sense that there's a big advantage here, though, for New York. Having an extra home game is going to help for sure. But I don't know. I feel like this is an even series.
I think so, too. And you got to remember, the Royals didn't have Tommy Pham or Yuli Gurriel and even Robbie Grossman when that happened. I mean, they all came in September after that stretch, I believe, if I'm correct. Or maybe they were there, and I might be off. Actually, they were there. I'm sorry. They were there, but still, the first time they weren't there. So
yeah, the first
they still have a couple of looks at some of the Yankees pictures. And like you said, the one thing that we left out too is the pressure of the moment. This is New York. You're gonna have 45 to 50,000 fans that are gonna be at Yankee Stadium. They're all expecting the Yankees to just walk through this entire series and really walk through to the World Series. They haven't won since 2009, and a lot of Yankees fans, they believe that this might be the year. It's the best team. You have Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Anthony Rizzo, Giancarlo Stanton, you name it. They are truly the Bronx Bombers. But isn't this so reminiscent of the 1970s and the early 80s with the Yankees in the Royals? The Yankees had the squad, the Royals were scrappy, and the Royals, they put up a good fight. So maybe that can happen again. Who
Well,
knows?
they literally put up fights. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go to YouTube and look at some highlights from those ALCSs, there's George Brett and Craig Nettles at third base brawling. There's Hal McRae going into second base and upending Willie Randolph. Great, great series. I'm glad you brought it up. The history of the Yankees and the Royals in the playoffs is a deep one and a fascinating one. They have not met in the postseason since 1980. Yankees won the ALCS in 76, 77, 78. And of course, after the second two, they went on to win the World Series. The Royals got a little measure of revenge in 1980 with the George Brett three-run homer off of Goose Gossage in Game 3 in New York, and the Royals ended up winning that series. So for 4 out of 5 years, those teams met in the playoffs as division winners. The Royals were the West winners, the Yankees were the East, and they put up some classic baseball and the intensity. I just the image. Listen, I was in high school in '76, and I was in college in '80 when these
Mhm.
games were being played. You weren't even born. But if you're any kind of baseball historian at all, you remember or you recognize what Yankees Royals means because of what it meant 45 years ago or so. All right, you mentioned Aaron Judge, you mentioned Juan Soto, Giancarlo Stanton. You're right. This is a powerful Yankees lineup, but I'm not sure it's a deep lineup. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how deep it goes. I think there are some outs in this Yankees lineup. That's why you like one of the reasons you might like the Royals in this series is because of Michael Wacha, who, by the way, Aaron Judge, 1 for 18 lifetime against Michael Wacha.
Mhm.
Cole Reagan's just, on top of his game right now. Seth Lugo. I think the Royals have the pitching advantage in this series. What do you think
Yeah,
about it?
I do too. Um, I've said this before, and I believe that the Yankees aren't the big bad scary team that everyone portrays them to be. Yes, they're 1 seed. Yes, they'll be at home. Yes, it's Yankee Stadium. The history, the pageantry, I get all of that, but they don't necessarily strike me as a team where you can you just have no shot. Like you said, there are outs on in that lineup. You get around Soto and Judge, there's strikeouts to be had. There's flyouts to be had. There's groundouts to be had. And I believe that if the Royals can take game 1, then you really are in a great spot because if it comes back to Kauffman Stadium, I don't think the Royals lose at home. They haven't really lost at home all year, and I don't think that changes with the playoffs. And I know just from which is what we said about the layoff, the Yankees have to get their swing right. I mean, Aaron Judge wasn't really blasting home runs down the stretch until like maybe the last week when he was trying to
Last
get to
week, yeah.
60. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Royals have a shot. Like I said, the old adage is good pitching beats good hitting every day of the week, and that might be something that plays out in this series.
If you're a Yankees fan, I know you're liking the fact that the Astros have been eliminated because the Astros have been just tormenting the Yankees in the postseason the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the last 4 series that those teams have matched up. Houston has come out ahead. And I think the Yankees would have preferred to play the Royals over the Orioles. Orioles won the season series against New York. I think it was 8-5. And
Yeah.
like we mentioned, the Yankees handled the Royals in 5 out of 7 during the regular season. So I think
Do
the
you think the
Yankees.
Yankees might be overlooking the Royals?
Well, I think the Yankees are looking at the bracket that's remaining and licking their chops because there are only AL Central teams left. And I added it up. The Yankees were a collective 18-7 against the American League Central. So they had not only a winning record against the Royals, but also against the Tigers and the Guardians as well. So I think the Yankees may look at this as the path is cleared for them to get into the World Series. But I'll tell you what, all three remaining AL Central teams, the teams that are in the AL Central, I would think, without having studied it, all have better pitching than the Yankees.
Yeah.
We know what the Tigers are like on the hill, and the Guardians bullpen's the best in baseball. So, and the Royals of those three might have the best combination right now of starters and relievers. So, well, let me ask you this: do you get a sense that, let's just say this thing goes 5 games? Will we only see Waka, Reagans, and Lugo as starters? Does Brady Singer get a shot? What are you thinking? No, listen, one thing about this series is there's a lot of off days in it, right? They
Yeah.
play Saturday, off Sunday, play Monday, off Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday would be off Friday, play Saturday.
That's a good question. And I don't know who they would input in that fourth spot. They also have Michael Lorenzen too.
Yeah.
So it might be they might opt to go with a veteran if they needed a fourth starter there. But either one, if it's Brady or Lorenzen, that's a good thing to have to use. I think you'll see both of them at some points maybe start a game, especially if it goes like to game 4 and you need someone there. But like you said, with the off days and everything like that, you can still get away with those 3 starters that you have at the top. But I think it would be good if you did see a Brady Singer in a starting game because he's been good, and certain stretches, and it'll be a nice reward for him for the season that he's put together to be in that spot. But it just depends on how Matt Cottrell, Brian Sweeney, Zach Both, how they want to play it. But they have options. And when's the last time you can say that for a Royals team that you have a lot of pitching options that you can lean on?
That's right. Never, or at least not in the last 10 years. But there is one thing about this ALDS schedule. I think if I'm thinking about this right, you could get full rest for Waka and Reagans if they wanted to use them in games 4 and 5. So, or at least 4 days. Anyway,
Yeah.
You're right about
isn't game 4 the 10th? So it's 3 and 4 are back to back, right?
the only games that are back to back in this short series. Strange how it got stretched out like this for media, but that's how it is. And for rainouts, even though there's no rain in the forecast for Kansas City this week. You've been dodging raindrops and storms for the last 2 weeks up and down the eastern seaboard. So that's another part of your adventure over the last few days.
I need to do a story on all the things that have gone on and I have been through on this playoff journey.
It is amazing. It really is for you, for the Royals, and for the guy who covers the Royals for the Kansas City Star. Okay, so what happens? What do you think? I'm still going back and forth. I think overall, top to bottom, Yankees are a better team. I think the Royals have the better pitching, and in the postseason in a short series, that may be the difference. Where do you come down on this?
I think with it being a short series, the Royals have already played 2 games. Their pitching looks dynamite. I think that if they steal game 1, or if they win
Split.
one in New York, either game 1 or game 2, and they split, the Royals win the series. I really believe that because I don't think we've seen what the K is going to look like in a long time. And I think that's that energy and that's all these guys are talked about. We want to bring Kansas City playoff baseball back to Kansas City. That's what every player has said. We want to bring it back. We want to bring it back. We want to bring it back to the K. They did that. So I don't think they lose when they go home. I really don't. I think they win those last 2 games at Kauffman Stadium so they can win one in New York, split. Like we said, I think they take the series. Now, if the Yankees win both games in New York, I think the Yankees will probably have it because they have that 5th game in the pocket back at Yankee Stadium. So But I think the Royals can do this. I really do.
Okay. Well, when it does, Game 3 is guaranteed at the K, and you'll see your first playoff game in Kansas City, and just remembering what it was like in 2014 and 2015, it's incredible. The atmosphere is amazing. The fans they're great fans, and when that stadium is packed, it can be an intimidating place. The other thing that I think needs to be said, and this is just it doesn't have anything to do with this year's team, but the Royals win series. That's what they've done.
So they do.
As a franchise. Winning that wild card series meant the Royals since 1985 have won, if you count the singular wild card game in 2014 as a series, they've won 9 of the last 10 postseason series they've been in. The only loss was a Game 7 defeat by the Giants in the 2014 World Series, and the Royals had the tying run at third base in the 9th inning. So it has nothing to do with Bobby Witt or Matt Quatraro or Cole Reagans or Seth Lugo. Salvi's the connection between the 14-15 and this year's team. But I just find it amazing that in between postseason success, you've got these 100 lost seasons, right? And just this depressing baseball. But when the Royals have gotten to September, October, I mean, they figure out a way to win, and maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case this year.
And then the story too, like you said, you lost 100 games, 106 franchise worst. I mean, if you're into stories and just feelings and moments, this is it. Worst to first.
Yep.
A team that no one expected to be anywhere where they are now could come out and beat the mighty New York Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean,
how crazy is that?
It writes itself. The story writes itself. And, the Royals just have to go out and prove it. That's the thing. And like you said, when the Royals get in, they win. I mean, you can't deny that fact. They figure out a way to win. I don't know how they do it, but they do.
All right. Great conversation, Jaylon Thompson. Really appreciate you being on here. And we want to thank our producers, Monty Davis and Randy Mason. And I want to thank you for listening or watching on YouTube. We'll be back with another Sports Beat KC pretty soon, so stay tuned. Take care, everybody.